the dance between them. We are the heirs of the tribes and their fires, their healers and their circles.
We are not alone.
Thank you. And let's move to the Congregational Covenant. This is a shorter version of your beautiful long covenant, which we will talk about, I think, today in the meeting. But for now, we're going to read together the shortened version in your order of worship. In this house, we covenant with one another that we build our connections on a foundation of love, hope, and faith to promote justice and peace and to show reverence for the thought and all around us. Thank you. So, how many people have ever been to a Unitarian flower service before? Okay, most of us, most all of us. Many ways to do this service. I know we're doing it a little bit differently this year, but essentially that we are coming with our own flowers as a representation, a symbol of the beauty of the flower, the beauty in us, the diversity among us, and then we're going to put them in the collective vase, and at the end we'll take another flower home. So essentially that's the ritual. Today, or this year, is the 100th anniversary of this Unitarian ritual, 100 years. And it was created in Czechoslovakia by a very liberal minister named Minister Norbert Capek, and he was in a Baptist church for a long time and felt like it was a little too closed-minded and wanted to open a church that was open to all views, political views, spiritual views, as Hitler was coming to power. Even while being in the concentration camp, even while being starved and tortured, he held a flower service in the camps. And whatever people could scrounge, weeds, wildflowers among the camp, they put together a bouquet. So this, to me, testifies to not only an acceptance of all beings and all beliefs, but a beauty that was much larger than themselves or their circumstance, a beauty that would outlive them, and beauty alongside incredible ugliness. So Capek died in the concentration camp, but his courage, his commitment lives on in us, really each time we see or create or bring beauty into our troubled world. And we have a lot of opportunities to do that. I highly recommend the film Life is Beautiful if you haven't already seen it. So today we share our own version of beauty, and all beauty is welcome, right? Just like we're all welcome in the world. All our expressions of our souls, all our different parts, all the ways we feel freest in the world to be ourselves. That's what we're here to celebrate, and that's what the flowers represent. So we're about to come up and bring our flowers into the collective vase. And before we do, I just want to do a tiny little meditation on your flowers. And we'll take a moment. If you didn't bring a flower, perfectly fine. We have many in the back. You can go back and choose one. 2 vases in the back. Feel free to go, and then we'll put them in a collective. I'll just give a minute for anybody who wants to do that. We have 3 vases that somebody kindly put out, and we have a collective vase. So we'll see if they all fit in the collective vase. We can all be cozy together. So once you have your flower, just take a minute to look at your flower, smell the flower, feel the textures. Just all the different levels of beauty in the flower. And notice that it might still have its roots. And take a moment and ask yourself, right? Plants grow downward into the earth and upward. Plants and trees, they grow two directions, just like people do. So ask yourself, where are my roots? Where do I belong? Where do I get my sustenance, nourishment? Notice the center of the flower, the center of the bloom, from which everything else radiates. And reflect just for a moment, where's your center? Where do you live from? Your heart, your gut, community, your culture. And then lastly, notice the stem, short or long, strong or wavery, which reaches up towards the sky. And ask yourself, what does my soul aspire to? And as you come up, there's a background beat here, I don't know what it is. But as you come up and place your flower in, we'll start with the black bucket and then spill over into the other. If you want to say a word or two about this flower, you may, or you can do it silently, and then we'll just come up in a procession. Perfectly fine to speak a word or two to all of us, and then we'll look at our collective bouquet at the end and hear some more music. So, actually, Kit is going to play the Waltz of the Flowers as we begin this procession. So we can start in the front row, and as the music begins, come on up. Kate, do you want to stand? Thank you. Here with the mic in case somebody does want to speak a word or two. Yes. So you're going to come up, place your flower, speak if you like, or just have a moment, and then you return to your seat, and I'll tell you what's next, okay? So if you would like to start. You want to start? Front.
My paintings are from the beauty of the earth.
The earth, honoring the earth.
This plant reminds me of my heart.
This plant reminds me of my heart, the beauty of my heart.
The beauty of the heart. I'm going to repeat phrases up here.
I'm remembering self-compassion.
Self-compassion. Thank you.
Let's remember we wouldn't have flowers without the microbes creeping around underground.
We need the microbes.
Blessings.
Earth and sky.
My only child daughter's name is Jasmine Iris Rose.
Jasmine.
Hi. I love the rose and the thorns, with thorns and all, and I love the tulip that hasn't yet opened.
Rose with thorns and tulip that has not quite opened.
I chose this flower because it has a very strong stem, and I hope our souls can be strong.
A wish for strong souls like the stem. Thank you.
The kindness of family and friends.
Kindness of family and friends. Thank you.
The roses are just because I like roses. But these are for my husband because these attract bees. And today is the 4-year anniversary of his dying. And he came to me as a bee a couple days after he died. So I don't have any bees on them, but maybe one will fly in.
Oh, honoring your husband for the bees and the flowers. Beautiful. Thank you.
I brought wildflowers because although some people consider them weeds, they're beautiful.
Weeds are beautiful flowers, wild flowers.
Sharing abundance. Up here.
Sharing abundance, worth saying 3 times.
I still have the coral bells that I got from Deb Oakey a few years ago. And I love bugs, so of course we need flowers for them.
Primrose.
Thank you.
How about here?
I love the color pink and the ants that help open the petunias. Peonies.
Peonies, and thanks to the ants.
Rose and time, because we need more time being in love.
Oh, we need more time to be in love. Roses and time.
So my peony is, it's an offering of faith, hope, and these little balls here, possibility. And also, this is probably the only times I will walk down the aisle with flowers.
Never say never.
For all of nature that doesn't need me to be here anyway.
For all of nature that doesn't need me to be. Nature lives on.
So hold on just 1 minute. I have something to say, which is that the tree committee has been awarded 9 baby chestnut trees. And if you know something about chestnuts, it's that 1/4 of all the trees in the state of Massachusetts used to be chestnuts. And they sequester the most carbon in the world, like beech trees. So we have 9 baby trees. We have 3 school people who have been interested in planting. And so we hope they'll go to 3 schools because kids need the opportunity to make a difference.
So now we could have a group dance, I'm sure. I saw many people waltzing around with their flowers. That would be a nice practice. But we're going to move towards the bell ringing in a few minutes. We're on good timing for the 11 o'clock, 11 minutes of bells. But I just want to say a couple more things on beauty in the world before we move on to the bells. So as we've all shown, we have cultivated these flowers. Maybe we've grown these flowers and chosen them. Maybe we've found them. Cultivating beauty is pretty easy. Cultivating peace or justice is a little harder, right? Even in the ease and softness of summer, we talked about moving into this playful, restful, beautiful time, we still carry our moral conscience, right? We care always. And I invite you, as we reflect for the 11 minutes on Mother Earth, that we contemplate how we can bring her beauty into the world and tend to the trouble at the same time, living with that simultaneity, holding those opposites, that there's creativity amidst destruction, there's beauty amidst horror, and we all have a part to bring that to be. So just as I say these things, tell me if you've ever done this. Going to an activist comedian. Comedian. Yeah. Singer, a singer, a radical activist singer. A song, singing protest songs, dancing, going to a dance-a-thon, or anybody heard of Parties with Purpose? Young people getting together. Oh, good. And learning about some issue and dialoguing and leaving some money. Instead of drinks and food, they have a little of that too, but parties with a purpose. Make change, be the change, make waves, dare to ask questions, stand with whoever you consider the underdogs in your community, the people who need you, and learn how to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable, as we often say. So with that, I would like to introduce how we're going to do the bell ringing. So we have 2 bell ringers today who are going to start at 11. It's 11 minutes. And Kit will be teaching a chant that we will chant listening or chanting along for the first 3 or 4 minutes. And then we'll settle into silence. And in the silence, you're welcome to stay where you are in the pews. You're welcome to walk slowly around the church, which is what I'll be doing, just a meditative walk. Or you're welcome to go out on the sidewalk, as many people do with signs, and advocate for Mother Nature. Okay? So we will make our choice. And I think we have three minutes left. Betsy mentioned that all the churches do this. Please. People all over the world are having this flower ceremony. Absolutely. Oh, the bell ringing. The bell ringing. Yes. A few churches in Franklin County. Okay. I'm sure there's others around the country. But yeah. Anybody want to, while we have these couple minutes, want to speak anything on the flower service? Any more? Thank you, Sandra. And the bells. Please.
The beauty of the bouquet,
Mhm.
representing the diversity of this
Right.
gathering of people, brings me to tears.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel the energy
Yeah.
and the beauty of it, and
Yes.
that it's us.
It's you, exactly. You are the gift, the flowers are the gift. So in this next 11 minutes, you may decide to come up and just stand and smell and look at the flowers a little bit. There's also flowers in the back that we can enjoy. So, last sentiments on flower service. It's a beautiful remembrance of beauty out there in the world and beauty in here, and may we recognize it in nature and humanity. Please, Rob.
I just want to give a special thanks to those people who brought more than a flower for themselves.
Mm.
People like me who didn't figure out how to get a flower, which
Mm-hmm.
is really good to come in and have some nice ones to choose from.
Yes, there's some generosity, definitely. And can we hear Alice have anything to share on Zoom, Frank, or anybody else join? Okay. Yes. So anybody on Zoom who would like to share their flower or any word on the flower service, now would be a good time.
I'd like to know the story behind the flowers on the altar. I've never seen such a...
That's a bounty. Anybody know where this came from? You want to speak it, please? Yes. Very generous. Thank you.
I might add something about the chestnut trees. 9 baby chestnuts were grown by a couple who are the principal people in the Chestnut Foundation Association Cooperative. And they have 60 more. But they awarded us 9 because we're hoping to place them in at least 3 locations. And let's hope for the best. And chestnut trees received a blight in the early 1900s, and we've lost, thousands, millions of chestnut trees. And so it's very meaningful.
Thank you.
It's like a fight back.
Thank you. So here begin the bells. Here we'll begin in a moment the teaching of the chant, the earth, the air, the fire, the water. And after we chant for a few minutes, then you'll have the option to go out to the street, to sit and meditate, or to walk around the church. So as you're ready, Kit, thank you. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the fire, the air, return. So whoever would like to step outside may. Whoever would like to continue quiet reflection, please do. And anyone who wants to join me in a meditative walk, please do. For about now 7 minutes. So we are all returning from our collective activism, reflection, all worthy for Mother Earth. Thank you all. Now is the time for the offertory to support the good works of this All Souls Church and all the gifts that we each bring to it. And during the offertory, the All Souls Choir will be singing a beautiful song called De Colores. So let the choir come up and again sing, hum along if you know it. The number? 305 in your hymnal. De Colores. And if we could have one more collector. Thank you. Usher. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Kit and choir. Glorious. So it is time to share our joys and sorrows. And Kate will come around with the mic. Maybe we can actually start on Zoom, Frank, if anyone has a joy or a sorrow to share. Concern. Not for now. Okay, thank you. Anyone in the room? Joys, concerns, sorrow.
I'm Emma Stanis, and I've had the joy of taking care of my mom, who turns 100 in 2 weeks. And I'm also joyful that she will be now under the care of my sister, who came down from Alaska to spend the next 4 months with her. She has been living alone successfully and driving until 6 months ago. And her mind is clear, and it's just such a joy to have her and share her with the family and friends that I have and that I've been able to share her with.
Oh, thank you. Joy in having and joy in sharing. You're
And I
100
want
years
to
old.
have a joy of making sure the people on Zoom can hear us. So everybody hold your mic close, because I know, for example, frequently Link signs off at this time because he can't hear us. We want Link to hear us.
Thank you, Kate. Very kind.
I have a couple of joys. I'm getting better at getting to church on time. That feels good. Also, I was outside for a walk, and I met up with Beth, and that was a joy. I saw her at a dinner a while ago, and we recognized each other, and she came on in, so welcome, Beth. It's a joy to have you here. And thank you all for helping my dog become more social. She's not afraid of people, she's not barking anymore, and she's really come a long way, so thank you for letting me bring her. She saw her sister's mom here today, and she was just so joyful. So thanks, Robin, for being behind us.
All the connections and surprise meetings. Thank you. And Doggies, welcome.
Morning, my name's Russ. I have some joys and sorrows. First, I'll say a sorrow that I think I'm feeling it now maybe more than other years, that I think I'm really gonna miss being here with other people after today until September. Joy seeing so many people here, some faces I haven't seen in a while, and kind of both a joy and a sorrow. I was in Buckland Center a couple of weeks ago, and I was walking in the old cemetery. There's literally a sign there that says Old Cemetery. And I didn't know anybody in there, but it was Veterans at Memorial Day. But I did, by chance, happen upon the stone, the monument for Susan Garfield Wright, who used to attend All Souls years ago. And yes, and it's a stunning stone, and thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you. Up front, Maria has something.
I'd like to, I have a friend that wants to come to this All Souls Church, and I've been enjoying this All Souls Church too, and I'm having a good old time. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to have you having a good old time.
I have one other thing to celebrate, which is kind of amazing. It's been an amazing week for me. And I think for many of us, if we know about it, but most people don't. This week, the governor did a press release, and the press conference was about trees, forests, and working lands. And the really, really good news is that she has put a 6-month moratorium on cutting trees contracts. And, this is like, we were trying to pass the legislation for a moratorium, and she beat us to it. And she also has got an advisory board that includes William Mumau, who is like famous for his position as the announcer of the International Scientists Group for the entire forestry network of the globe. And he's on the advisory board. So I just feel as though, okay, we set out to do something on trees, and by golly, the governor beat us to it, for heaven's sakes. Might be the first time ever it shows democracy works.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
I'm Kirsten. I have a story to tell you, and you're going to laugh, and I'm going to take a minute. So on Friday, I'm sitting in the office downstairs, getting ready to print out a recipe, and I hear somebody saying, "Oh yeah, we changed that blah, blah, blah," and then I heard nothing. And all of a sudden, into the room comes my colleague, and they say, "Oh yeah, that was Reverend Day." I said, "No, they're dead." "What?" "She's not dead." Frances Day was here on Friday. If you don't know who Frances Day was, she was the first woman ordained in Greenfield. When she was ordained here in Greenfield 40 years ago, a lot of people who are now in the spirit world were her supporters, and I heard a myriad stories about them as I spent about 45 minutes with her and her son David up here exploring the sanctuary. Again, I have a picture with her. If you don't know more about Frances Day, she refused to join the Ecumenical Council because they had it written in their bylaws that you had to have certain beliefs to be on that council. So she helped start the Interfaith Council here in Franklin County. Okay, wait, but that wasn't, let me tell you, this almost 80-year-old powerhouse just, I like melted like butter because she's my hero, because she is the person who started the Franklin County Community Meal Program. And All Souls Church holds that legacy, that its leader and its parishioners and its congregation supported feeding the hungry first here. And so, as somebody who feeds the hungry and provides nourishment for body, mind, and spirit through the Stone Soup Cafe here, it's just a lovely connection. But she said, she's throwing down the gauntlet to all of us, invite me for the 200th anniversary, because the 150th was amazing. Okay? So she's expecting to be invited. I have her address and phone number. She wants to be here in 2 years for the 200th anniversary, or the 175th she was at, something like that. But anyway, I met a powerhouse, and she was a product of Unitarian Universalism, and she said, when I left, there were 3 women ministers. Just, a little revolutionary, progressive thinking for the morning.
Oh, here's to that little progressive thinking, collaboration, feeding the hungry. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Christine. The chestnut trees are kind of a symbol. And it's funny, I was sitting here thinking about, this is a candle of joy. I was sitting here thinking about the amazing, strong people who came before me here, who were here to welcome me. Susan Garfield Wright was on my mind as I drove in this morning. She had a babe at breast, as did I when I came in '91. And I was thinking about Craig Cole and Isabel Cole, and just happened to look at the dedication plate in my hymnal. It's from them.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was thinking about how my youngest is 25, and that was not the one at breast when I came. And how the babes in their soil there are going to grow to be great, strong trees that are going to do things that will help the world. And our friends who are chestnuts and oaks.
Yeah.
And growers of good communication and carers of the elders. And so many people here. We are fertile ground. Definitely maybe 2 candles.
Yeah. We are fertile ground. Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin. Great to be here. I've been here maybe once for the service before in person, so thanks to Sandra and Maria and others who have encouraged me to come. And I've been on Zoom a bit and on YouTube following along, so it's great to be here in person, and especially today with all the flowers.
Thank you for returning. Yes. And are we complete in the room of Annie? Actually, while you're at Zoom, do you want to check in once more? Anyone on Zoom? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Annie, why don't you speak while we're waiting for Link? And
Betsy, why don't I do it while I've got the mic to fill in? I just wanted to light a candle of sorrow. Lori Bayak, who was with us a couple of years ago with her dog Sadie. She was staying with Jennifer and Mel, moved back home to, I believe, Washington State, and lived in her own home, her own cabin, her own wood-heated, no off the grid, and no Wi-Fi or anything. She was joining us over the phone during COVID. Anyway, she passed. She died she had a memorial service December. We don't know the details, but she is remembered with love. And Sadie died before her.
Thank you, Kate.
Find Annie.
From Annie in the kind time.
So we'll start off. I'm Annie. Candle of great joy for the Gay Pride Parade. Yes, the biggest parade I've seen. I've been to a lot of parades, but they were from the sidewalk back to the stores and really uplifting, and I loved the support from everybody that I saw there. Let me see, that was one joy. The joy for the choir and their efforts with Decorados and the rest. It was great to see you up there again. Is it Neil? I can't think of your name. I'm sorry. Great conducting and playing. We have some sorrows here. I went to a funeral of my friend Jody, her husband of 33 years, passed away, graduated, as they would say. And so a candle for them. It was a beautiful ceremony, started with a singing bowl, very uplifting. And then another candle for my friend Phyllis, who lost her partner of 25 years, Mark, just crossed over. And a candle, even though we don't know these people that we hear about that really hard things happen to, I'd like to light a candle for these 2 young men in Maine, 17 and 19, drag racing, and died. And so I like to hold their family, their friends, mother and fathers. I can't imagine what that kind of loss is for them, and know that our love and prayer support goes out to those 2 kids' family. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
And I'd like to light a candle for the 30 refugees and homeless that got housed in Greenfield this week. 61? 61. The Days Inn now has a contract with the state of Massachusetts to house homeless and refugees. And it makes my heart so happy. But they're also putting out calls for support. One of my friends was asked to come and help dispense diapers. I mean, the chores can be very simple, but a lot of hands are needed to help these 61 people. But it's going to be ongoing now. That Days Inn is going to be an anchor for refugees and homeless in Massachusetts, and our community is being called on to be of service. So I hope we'll all pay attention.
Thank you, Sandra. Greenfield is amazing. The consciousness of Greenfield, of caring. I'm so impressed by y'all.
Hi, I'm Tina, and I'd like to light a candle for both of my kids. One is up in Bar Harbor, and Merlin, who you all may remember the name Megan, has determined that they are bipolar. I'm sorry, no, that's me, sorry. Non-binary.
Yeah.
And they're now down at Paul Newman's Hole in the Wall Gang Camp for children. And so Merlin is learning all those good camp tunes and a week of orientation, and I just need to offer them some strength to take on this job for the whole summer.
Oh, thank you. Here's to all we're learning about all the being non-binary and the gradations and the spectrum from young people. I feel like they're teaching so much. The courage to be exactly who you are wherever you fall. Please.
Hi, good morning. I appreciate the invitation to help our immigrants that are housed. And I happen to know that it's CSO who is the point case manager. So all you need to do is just call CSO and volunteer. They'll have the list and the materials and everything that you can offer. They'll know what to do, how to do. So, yep, it's nice that Greenfield's part of this. Say my name. Kay Judd. Hi,
Kay.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. I think we are complete. No. We all, oh.
Hi, I'm Rob. I'll make it quick. I'm just so grateful when my communities converge. I'm a member of the Cherry Hill co-housing community in Amherst, and today part of that community ends up being here, not only through the wonderful music of Dr. Kit Johnson, but his wife Jane and their grandson Brock. So glad to see you guys be part of both of those communities.
Thank you. And as always, we light a final candle to honor all the joys, sorrows, concerns that are a little too tender to share aloud, but we remember. Thank you. So we are about at the end of our service, where we'll come and choose a prayer to friends. Thank you. Takes a village. Prayer to Friends song, and insert in your hymnal, Prayer to Friends. Thank you, Kit. So, before we come up and choose a flower to take home, a new flower, just the last few words. We've talked a lot about cultivating vegetables, flowers, our spirits, our communities. Sometimes cultivating can begin with culminating, right? An ending. Sometimes something needs to end, be cleared, left alone for a while to make room for something else. So I invite you to just think of summer also, what's done and what's yet to come. We don't always know what's coming. Good things are coming, things we plan on, things we work towards, surprises. Sunday service is culminating, but we'll be back in September. And it's up to each of us in the room, in the community, to keep in touch. A little bit easier to be out and about in the summer. I invite you to dare to invite somebody that you don't really know to something. Decide to meet out somewhere. Plenty of gatherings in Greenfield, as we all know. And just as we've looked for the beauty in the flowers today, let's make sure we keep looking to each other to find that same beauty represented. And reach out to each other, take care of each other, which you already do very well. But just in this, as Russ mentioned, a little sadness about this form of service ending, may you find other forms this summer to stay connected, to carry each other's spirits, and return in September. So, as Kit plays just a refrain of the Waltz of Flowers, I'm going to invite everyone back up and choose a flower that you'd like to take home, knowing that you're taking a part of somebody else in the community, and then we will settle back down and go towards announcements. Anybody wants to take a picture of the flowers too, please do. So, choose a flower. And we'll do announcements. Yes, there's a meeting and a picnic. We'll do that after we settle back in. Thank you. Thank you. So, Kit, thank you for the song. And please come up as you like and choose a flower. Thank you once again. So as I read the benediction, I invite you to hold up your flowers and just gaze one more time. And if you want to turn to look at each other, look at the beauty of each other's faces, the beauty of the flowers. The benediction is by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, a fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. Amen, and blessed be. Yay. Now for announcements. So I heard a picnic, or go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so let's start there. First of all, if you're a member, please stay for the annual meeting. We have some snacks over there for you, some fruit salad, some protein, some yummy, some sweets. And hopefully we'll be done within an hour, although the congregational agreement has been up to 2-hour meeting, but I don't think we have too much that's controversial, and we need every voice. And so if you're not a member, please stay and watch the democratic process and unfold, and also you can always give us feedback about how meetings are run here at All Souls. Next week, at the Greenfield Recreational Area on Nash Mills Road, we are having the church picnic. It is a potlucky kind of thing. You bring a side dish, and we'll have burgers and dogs and a meat substitute alternate protein for you. We'll have the plates and the napkins and the cups, and you're bringing anything else? Bring side dishes, right? We'll bring what? Drinks. We're bringing drinks. Okay. This is mock orange. That's what this is called. Sorry, this smells so good. Whoever has this in your yard, we want you to dig it up for us and give us pieces. So there's that. There are some meetings that are happening that are in your order of worship. Yes? No? Isn't there a summertime gathering happening later this month in somebody's yard that I remember?
I think that's in WhatsApp, right?
Okay,
WhatsApp.
it's in the WhatsApp. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not signed up for our online newsletter that happens every week, and then a reminder about Zoom, which you won't get anymore until we start again in September. By the way, the next service in the sanctuary is Sunday, September, is it the 13th? That doesn't seem right.
After Labor Day, yeah, second.
Okay, so it's really that late. Okay, so you get it, September 13th. It's September 10th. I knew it wasn't right. Thank you. Sunday, September 10th, that's the fair weekend as well. It's the last day of the fair, but we start back the Sunday after Labor Day at 10:30. All right, and so without me continuing to bogart this microphone, are there other community announcements? Pam has one, then you're going to pass it to Russ.
Just real quick, we put up an exhibit of tree books. So as you go out, it's on the left. It's at the door on the left. And if you're interested in following up with trees, sign up on the little piece of paper that's right next to it.
If you're coming to the annual picnic next Sunday, we're congregating under the pavilion, and if you have a lawn chair to bring, please, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for good weather. And if you're staying for the annual meeting and you are a member of the church, so you qualify to vote for whatever we might be voting on, I have copies of our annual report and the outline, the agenda for the meeting, and so anybody who is a member of the church would be good to grab one of these, and I'm going to leave them right up here for now.
Thank you, Russ. Sandra?
Oh, and I don't need any greeters for
I want to announce 2 events that the Interfaith Council will be holding this Monday, tomorrow evening at 6:30. We'll have another Death Cafe. And if you want any more information about that, let me know. That's on Monday night. And then the second thing is the Interfaith Council will be having its annual meeting at St. James and Andrew on Wednesday night. And I invite anybody who's interested to come.
While we're taking a little vacation, the bell ringing is not. So we will continue bell ringing through the summer. And July 11th is a Tuesday, and August 11th is a Friday. So I will be contacting y'all, and hopefully you can join me. Thank you. And it's because the crisis continues.
Right. Thank you for that long time commitment.
Next Sunday, as part of the picnic, the seekers will gather in a circle at some point to decide if we want to meet at all over the summer. That's it.
So we had a lovely service, and those of us who know we are loquacious, we've run over. So I'm going to suggest that it's 11:53, and I suggest that we start our meeting at 10 after 12. That gives you almost 20-ish minutes to grab something to eat, to use the felicities, as my father would say, the felicities, or have a little conversation with people that you delight in, and make your choices. Stay. Did you hear me say that? Stay. I didn't go to theater school at all. I was born this way. And then my question is would you please make yourselves more compact up front so that as you speak we can send the mic. And yes, Martha, you can have the last word.
Can we not take a break? Or like take 5 rather than 15? The people just leave.
Well, I wanted people to be able to grab themselves something to eat and come back to a pew. So if you think that at 5
after compromise?
that's fine.
Okay.
That's a 10-minute break.
Okay.
Okay.
So 10 minutes, come on back and stay connected over the summer. Nice to be with everybody.
What,
Hey, Frank,
25%?
it looks like
Yeah.
Link is raising his hand as a member. Link, I don't know if Frank can hear us.
Hello, but I can hear you.
We got quorum. So can they hear that? Okay. If you are a
Great,
member,
thanks, Link.
do you have a packet?
Or can you share it with someone?
Or share it with someone else. Okay. All right, following from the first page. Okay. We're here to hear and act upon the minutes of the 2022 annual meeting. What do we do?
They are printed, so they're printed. So you can say they're printed.
They're printed on pages 2, 3, and 4.
Can I have the motion to approve the minutes?
Oh my
Rocky did that, so you can second him.
God. Okay, so Rocky moved to approve the minutes. Kate Mason second. Do hands or vocal?
Is there any discussion?
Any discussion? Thank you. I'm sorry, this thing is moving.
It's okay, just hang on. Just hang on. He's just got to get, I think it's the side one down here.
Oh, this one.
You can, no, it's, sorry. I believe my mouse. It is this one, which I didn't type. Here, how's that?
A little low for me. It's a little low for me. Sorry, folks. Okay, so no discussion, so yays, let's see, vote yes, raise your hand. And, okay, lower your hand, nays or noes? I see none. Any abstentions? I see none. All right, passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now. Yes, I expect there will be a lot of that, and you'll like that. So we're to hear the report of the Chair of the Board of Trustees, which is on pages, page 5, and continue to page 6 from Rob. Are you going to, okay, come on to the mic.
So first of all, it's really nice to be here and have so many folks show up and just be present and be prepared to try to really help us move forward. It was really nice at one point during the service to count close to 40 people, not even counting who might have been here on Zoom. And it reminds me of just how rollicking this place used to be before we got decimated by COVID. I wish I could report that my first term as chair was a rollicking success, but it was more like a rockin' seesaw. One big tilt upwards was the declining rate in COVID finally meant we could do this again, meet live for services. One decided tilt in the down direction was that the relocation of Jennifer and Melvin Lawrence meant that the ranks of the board were decimated by a third. You've all heard this saying that many hands make light work. When you're especially short-handed as a board, it brings up a lot of challenges. Now, on the plus side, between Kirsten and David and a couple other workhorses, we had steady, seasoned vets who we were able to rely on and learn from. Still, another famous saying that I'm about to mangle, if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a congregation to replenish a committee. And there are ways in which part of what we all struggled with this year on the board was just people feeling pulled in so many different directions because, frankly, there just wasn't enough workhorses to really get all of the work done without a lot of it falling on different people's shoulders. And then add to that Dan Tynan, who I'm sure you've witnessed, not only sets up the cameras and coordinates the Zoom, but at times has delivered the service, sang in the choir, and played the piano, all at the same time, is really been a huge gift to our congregation and leaves a gaping hole. So most of the first part of what I want to just share is it's wonderful that you're here, and it would be really wonderful if you could find it in you to come and maybe observe a board meeting, think about maybe being a part of it. If you want to be a member of the board, great. If you just want to be somebody who will help out in a particular project or a particular capacity, I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody that we would welcome you. Now, on the plus side, Frank has been able to fill Dan's large shoes and continues to capably ensure that congregants who need or prefer to attend the services remotely are able to do so effectively. And let's have a hand for Frank. I'll spare you some of the nitty-gritty of the fiscal stewardship, personnel and committee oversight, and community building all of which are covered in this document, and perhaps you'll hear from other committees. I do want to mention that we put a lot of time into thinking about who is up here at the pulpit and how do we figure out a way to either have no minister or, as we experimented this year, a quarter-time minister. And many people got involved in many different ways. Kate, who I think of as the guardian angel of All Souls, definitely put a lot of time and thought. In fact, let's have a hand for Kate. And we were able to create an interesting hybrid of remote, live, kind of like the flowers that, you see the blossoms, but then there's also the roots underneath. And with all of us, there's like that outer beauty of this sanctuary. And then when you listen to the joys and the sorrows, you get a sense of the inner beauty of the people who are in this building and how deeply they care about this community and the people outside of it. I am very happy to be able to say that All Souls is solidly in the black, and more thanks to David and Link, if he's there, and Rocky, who made some very astute investments that continue to bear fruit even in a wildly fluctuating market. And with our fiscal house in order, we decided that we would try to take an approach that, since we ain't broke, it don't need fixing when it comes to things like our annual picnic. So we're going to go back to the same place where we've gone. It's a nice environment. It gives us an opportunity to do a lot of things together and some things if we want individually. And I want to shout out another thanks to our moderator and Jack of all trades, Russ, who is the person who contracted for the picnic, and as many of you know, also puts a lot of attention into the Wayside pulpit and continues to be a steady hand at the tiller, ensuring that when we walk into this building, we're greeted warmly. It's a small thing, but I think it's a really significant thing. So how about a hand for Russ? Finally, we broke some new ground this year. We decided that if we can't have a choir director permanently, it doesn't mean we can't have a choir. If everyone's too busy and it's too difficult to meet during the week to practice and rehearse, doesn't mean we can't have a pop-up choir. And thanks to the pianist you just heard today, Dr. Kit Johnson, that's back and a really enriching part of our services. And I think music is one of our great strengths as a congregation. I think of some of the musical events that have happened over the years in this building, and right there behind me is where now on the first Friday of every month, we're partnering with Stone Soup to do an open mic.
Except that we're on hiatus for the summer because it's too hot in here.
I don't care. Give Kirsten a hand anyway.
I didn't do it.
Yes, so there'll be a hiatus, but just like so many things, it will return in the fall. So I think that probably is enough, unless there's one other thing I meant to say. Yeah, okay, so if I had to just pick one highlight, I would really come back to our congregational meeting when people really pooled their resources and played to our strengths when it came to being creative and brainstorming. And out of that came such a rich network of committees. The beautiful stuff with the chestnut trees that Pam was sharing. There's even a whole tree committee that blossomed out of that congregational meeting. Sandra and others have been involved in a seekers group that's offering continuing ed and ongoing leading opportunities. There's synergy with Stone Soup, and and a marketing committee that's also trying to find ways that we can stop being the best kept secret in Greenfield. I mean, there's so many great things that happen in this space, It would be terrific if we could get the word out, and in particular, if we could get more young people in and people of color and diversity in. That would really be the bouquet that I would love to see at the next flower communion. All right, I rest my peace.
Yes.
At the swimming area, yes.
No, we haven't been there in almost 10 years.
The swimming area, Greenfield, the swimming area, under the pavilion.
It's very convenient, and I think we even arranged for being able to have parking, or do we pay for
Oh,
parking?
yeah, there's parking there.
So how can you beat it? Food and free parking.
Well, the congregation is paying for the admission, and when you do show up, and if you show up in a car, you'll tell somebody in the booth there that you're there with All Souls for the picnic.
Russ, do you mind reminding people when it begins and how long it goes?
We have the pavilion reserved from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But most people don't get there and start, bringing things until close to 11 o'clock. But between 10 and 2, we are welcome to use it. And if it's good enough weather for going in the water, you're welcome to do that. Just bring something appropriate to wear or whatever when you go in the water. Any other questions about the picnic next week? Yes, there are restrooms there. There are receptacles for throwing recycling in, which I'm glad about. As was said earlier, the church will be providing the plates, the utensils, protein, and and beverages, and please bring some kind of side dish, whatever. Okay, all right. Okay, number 3 on the agenda, to hear and act upon the treasurer's report for the budget to actual expenses for fiscal year 23, and David Levitt is our treasurer.
Frank, can you see me here, or shall I go to the mic? Hello. Hello. Okay. So we're actually going to look at items 3 and 4. Hear and act upon the treasurer report for the budget for actual expenses FY23, because it is part of hear and act upon the Board of Trustees recommended fiscal year 24 budget. So in your packet, if you would proceed to the last 3 pages. Okay. So it starts FY24 proposed budget, DAL, those are my initials, as of May 15th actuals. So just a little understanding of what we're looking at here. If you look down the column of numbers, the first column of numbers says FY23 actuals as of May 15th. And the next column to its right is what we had.
I'm going to stop him. I think it's better to ask everybody to look at the first column, because what they need to do is ask you questions about the budget to actual for the current fiscal year and accept that report from you.
Fair enough, thank you.
And then they need to move to the second column and approve the proposed budget.
Yes, thank you. So in clarification of what Kirsten is saying, the first column that I'm bringing your attention to is the actuals, and the second column is this same fiscal year's budget value. So let's look at this first example. We brought in $1,810 from the collection plate, and we had only projected to bring in $1,247. So as you scan down these 3 pages, you'll see our current actuals as of May 15th against what we had planned as our budget values. And I am open to answer, to the best of my ability at this time, any of your questions.
Take a minute to scan. Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Russ.
Sorry. The third one, building use total. What exactly does that mean?
Building use total, account you're seeing there 4150, that's a category of our building rentals, whether it be weddings, ceremonies, use by AA who have chosen, because of the pandemic, to go elsewhere and meet, stone soup, etc.
Okay, so we projected 26,520, but the actual 14,609. Okay, thank you.
Certainly. We'll address it later. Okay, so there are 3 pages there, and it may take you some time to review it and look at it. I am open if there... I won't charge you for any questions. Let's put it that way. Nor will you be charged or docked if you come to the picnic early and be there by 10 to help facilitate setting up. Maybe we'll get a discount on the hamburger and hot dog rolls and only get the tops, and maybe you have some bottom buns at home to bring. You know, it'd be a big help. Come at 10, be part of the crew, part of the group. See how it all... Oh, yes, Miss Judd.
Our actual income was over 130,000, and our actual expenses was not quite 79. So we did good. Made more than we
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Kate. Okay. Is there a question presently? Okay. So I don't believe it's anything to vote upon. It is.
So,
Rocky made the motion
okay, Rocky made a motion to approve the report.
for FY23, and Christine Parham seconded.
And
I
Christine.
believe we have a question
Well, now, yes, now you can really move
for
it.
discussion.
We haven't actually finished the fiscal year, right?
That's correct. It goes until the end of this month.
Mm-hmm. So if there are other expenditures, they would not be reflected in this particular budget.
Correct. This was as of May 15th.
May 15th.
Right. And so there may have been some things that we had taken care of since May 15th that you're not seeing. There may be things that you have yet to get me receipts for me to reimburse you. I am capable for a couple of weeks into July to backdate so that it's still part of the fiscal year in that context. Yes.
But as of right now,
As of right now, you are viewing that information correctly. Any other questions?
But you should at least be adding 112.
I'm sorry, I don't follow you, please.
yes.
Oh, because you're taking the total expenses of 79 and subtracting it from the total income of 130. Is that what you're saying? No. One way to look at it, yes. Yes. It's not quite that accurate because it's a good approximation. Some things we pay quarterly instead of monthly, et cetera, but yes. Yes, Rob.
Clarifying question. 8900 committees. There was nothing budgeted? Is that because the whole...
We didn't have Frank at that time. And the decision to start this type of process was after the budget had been approved, correct?
Wait. There's already an issue, and that is you need to need to actually talk, because the people on Zoom can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so in terms of just the church account for Zoom, I guess, will be in our next budget for 2024, since we really haven't, we just started it.
I forget when we started it. I want to say that it was, thank you, perhaps October, so it is part, I think it's under under subscriptions, under office expenses.
Okay.
So, and like you may be aware, the church has purchased a Zoom account for all committees' use, and it is behoved upon each of the committees to coordinate so you're not overlapping and trying to use the Zoom when it's in process by another committee. That is one thing we didn't foresee, because we didn't really think, well, I did not really think that we had such a full calendar that we had meetings overlap by a period of time. But the people that have used Zoom or need technical services and how to do so, I think Frank could be available to us to give a training lesson or something, how you get it started on your computer with the information I sent to the committees. Certainly.
Any other questions or discussion? No?
Call the question.
Okay, so, all in favor of,
There's the, thanks. So there's the fiscal year 24 budget proposed, but that has two columns, which is fiscal year 2023.
Okay, right now, we're only...
To the mic.
And in there is,
All right, so for question 3 that has been open for discussion and called for vote, at the conclusion of discussion is just the first 2 columns that you see under FY 2023, the actuals in the budget.
and that is not the last page, that's on the same page as fiscal year 2024 proposed budget, is that right?
If you see here, it's this, as it goes down pages 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Header covers both the current year and the proposed. We're just dealing
That's
with
income.
pages with these,
The first, the second, and the third pages of
at this
it.
point in time.
I didn't want to make it smaller to fit on one page
Have to
because
pass
we all
that
need glasses
this
a lot.
year's first before we move to the proposed.
no?
Is there a question?
No other questions or discussion? Okay. D-
It's now 78 actual, but it really isn't 78. It's going to be more like 100,000.
Can you give her the mic?
so everybody can hear you.
Okay, well, the thing is that because we're still 1 month to go, that it would be adding, I don't know,
Correct.
$20,000 or something like that.
Correct. What you're seeing is what was prepared as of May 15th, and we are now at June 11th, and I am preparing documents of the current status for our upcoming board meeting, I believe, which is...
No, we're not doing it on the 19th.
Okay.
Nope. Not happening.
So yes, you are correct. There is a significant level of possible changes to the columns data as of what has transpired since May 15th.
It's going to come out much closer to what was
The proposed budget, is that right? Or the
Yes.
proposed income
Yes, in the
would have been
context
about
that-
100,000, and it's going to come out much closer to exactly what was.
Well, I wouldn't say exactly, but you are correct in the theory that, yes, we have more expenses, we have more income coming in, our numbers will be different than what we're seeing right now, yes.
David needed some time to get the figures together, so it couldn't possibly be
Right,
up to date to.
Right, unless I
this week.
produced this
Yeah.
Friday, and then I wouldn't have made the photocopying deadline, and then Kate
Right,
ran and got some
right.
photocopying done
Yeah.
yesterday, and so, and the board deals with this as well. I try to produce the documents for the board, usually the Sunday before the Monday meeting, so they have the most current data. Correct.
It's going to come out approximately equal.
I think you would be a wonderful candidate for working in our financial department of the church to, oh, okay, all right.
Okay. Can we call?
Is there more? Nancy? Nancy?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you, David, for all this hard work. I think you've done a wonderful job with the budget, and I want to thank you for all the time and effort you've put into it.
Thank you. And you may have seen me go around earlier, handing each of you a yellow card. That's our pledge card for this coming fiscal year. And I see some of you have filled them out. We did not get the chance to get them out to the mail to you, and we tried to hand them personally to you, but we need your pledges. We need to know that we can count on the funds that we're projecting as towards our budget. Okay. If there, moderator, please.
No, you done?
I believe that is ready to vote.
So we are acting on voting to accept the treasurer's report for the expenses for fiscal year 23 that we're still in, not next year, just this year. Okay, so,
All in favor, raise
okay, thank you, Keith. All in favor, raise your hand.
And just to fill the pocket, I'll take
Yeah.
All I need to see is this, I need to see the next two parts to know what.
Okay, all opposed?
Right, any opposition?
No hands. Any extension?
Wait, is that an opposition or an abstention? Abstain.
Abstain, so,
Okay, passed with 2 abstentions. That's all.
okay. Thank you, thank you.
It's a formality, but.
Okay, and next, line 4, to hear and act upon the Board of Trustees' recommended fiscal year 24 budget. David?
Yes. Thank you. You're welcome. Hi, if anybody doesn't know who I am, my name is David Levitt. I come to you from a long service of religious
Never mind, keep going.
volunteerism.
Don't want to be here all day.
We want to be out of here real quick. So,
Get to the real.
on the last 3 pages, there is another column over on the far right, and it is headed with FY 2024. And again, it goes down through the 3 pages of this document. Now, the way this is derived is it's taking the actuals and making projections so that we have something to work from. So you'll see that our income is down $20,000 projected. Currently, this fiscal year, we projected $130,000. This year, coming as of July 1st, we are projecting $110,000. Then going down through the expenses, etc., we are in this fiscal year, we projected $101,000 and change, and this next coming fiscal year, we are projecting 110, so a little bit of an increase. Again, multiple pages of lines and data. I am open to your questions.
I'll entertain a motion while you're looking so that we can move this forward.
Thank
You?
Actually, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
No, I can't make the motion, I'm the secretary, but if
Oh.
somebody makes the motion and seconds, then we can have the discussion and move.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Bates made a motion.
it.
Rocky Perham seconded.
Okay, you said it. Okay.
All right. Are there any questions? Kate?
I'm referring to the custodian stipend. And just kind of thinking probably over the whole year we don't need to pay, so the times 52 doesn't seem quite right. And it seems like a great, I'm curious why it's kind of doubled from this year.
Thank you. The custodian stipend was less in this fiscal year because we had people that were volunteering and contributing. Jennifer was often doing a lot of that work, and Russ was helping out from time to time. Going forward, we are planning on having Chuck, who we hired as our custodian, to do what he does on a weekly basis for about 2.5 hours a week. And if he was to do that for the 52 weeks of the year, now, yes, we're closed for 2 to 3 months. That doesn't mean that he's not going to actually then do other projects like oiling the wood and et cetera. So as a budget, I planned all 52 weeks. Are there
Any other questions or discussion? No? Okay, so we are voting to, yeah, accept, sorry.
You're right. You're fine.
Okay, to accept the board's recommended fiscal year '24 budget. Approve, raise your hands. We ended discussion. I asked, do you have more to discuss? Yes or no? I'm not hearing anything. Okay.
So, Pam, are you all set? Or do you have something more to discuss?
Yes, on the far right. The far right columns is for fiscal year '24.
Correct. That is correct.
What is?
But you've got 1 hour a week, 52 weeks, 10 months down,
Yeah.
and notes.
Please speak into the mic for people on Zoom.
In other words, I still don't really quite get the.
Okay.
I'm working at it. But
Not a problem.
Thank you. I appreciate the work. Believe me,
Thank
David.
you. And I don't mean to rush anybody. We just do want to keep the meeting short in that context. You are correct. In the minister's line, we removed, because we chose as a board to not go with a hired minister in any capacity and do lay-led, and instead we are having people like Betsy come as a worship speaker at that stipend rather than contractual like we did this year. So we did not plan on a contract minister at a certain percentage time with et cetera, right. And yes, the other line that you made reference to is at anticipation and for forward thinking of perhaps, correct.
Is the line item on another page.
Correct, you'll see worship.
8910
8910 worship speakers.
is where Betsy will get compensated as well as other guest ministers.
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, you'll see there in the notes column, 350 for an ordained minister, 300 for a not ordained, and 250 for lay-led, plus 4K for Betsy. That's specifically in the context that if we had her once a month for 10 months, type
Good.
of thing. Yes.
Very good. Yep.
Frank?
There's a question on here. We're curious to know if the church ever experimented with saving money and fuel, be closing for the coldest months and remaining open during the warm months.
That's part of the warrant for later in the discussion.
So yes, we have, and it will be discussed after this at a future point.
Nancy?
I have two items that I question, and I think that for the time involved, I think that we should not discuss them now, but have the board take them up at a future date. And one is the building maintenance and repair, and I feel that $6,000 may not be enough to budget for that. And then the other one I question is the piano repairs for $5,000. And I just wanted to make note that perhaps they could be discussed in depth at a future meeting.
Certainly.
Rob?
So I just want us to consider that the money that's being budgeted for a choir director may be more than is necessary if we keep doing it once a month. Nothing that we need to get into the weeds about now. And I also thought that there's quite a significant amount for advertisements via newspaper. Our actuals in 2023 was only $30. To then have the budget in 2024 be $1,500 seems excessive to me, but just my
I appreciate your bringing that to our attention. When we advertised for our administrative assistant, we found that we had almost wiped out the entire budget for the fiscal year that year. So we anticipated if there should be a future need for advertising for filling a position, if we should lose our administrator, or if we wanted to do and conduct a search by advertising for a choral director or an RE director, we needed to have the funds available to plan it rather than having zero and then trying to expend it.
Thank you.
Okay, Rocky.
Looking at the line item that somebody mentioned, 8,800, the 5,000 for piano repairs. I'm not sure where that number comes from, but I know that the accrued money from the music fund endowment dispersals is a little over 5,000, so it's something that could conceivably go towards that expense if it were. I don't know what's behind the 5,000,
Okay.
But there is money that's extra budgetary,
Separate from the general fund,
Right.
specifically for that.
specifically for music-related expenses,
Okay.
and that's what we use for piano tuning, and we have used for some of the repairs previously. So there's a little bit of money that's not in the budget that's kept on the side.
Okay, thank you. What Rocky is referring to, and I believe another person I forget made reference to, we recently had the piano tune. Julia often brings it to our attention when we need to because of her level of expertise. We had somebody come in and do the evaluation, and after many years of not having this level of work done, we're now being informed that the hammers need to possibly be recushioned or stipend, whatever the thing is that they do to the hammers in the piano, and the keyboard action, et cetera. We might have some strings that need tightening. So it was a more extensive service that's done once every 5 to 10 years, and guess what? It came time, and we're looking into it. I reached out to Dan for his expertise and understanding if he would critique the evaluation, but he's been involved with moving and has been traveling west. Aaron Bussell is the gentleman, and he gave us an estimate and recommended a second party who would actually do the work. So that's where the anticipation of those funds was coming to. And I think it came to about an estimate of around $4,800.
It's a lot more than that. It's almost $6,500 if everything that could go wrong needs to be fixed. We're hoping it's going to be a $1,000 deal, to be honest. But we already know it's going to get paid for by something else, so never mind.
Ellen?
Hi, just wondering, assuming taking a contrary position, if we decided we wanted a full-time choir director and we wanted a full-time choir, are the estimates here of $4,000 for the choir director and $350 for sheet music, would that be an appropriate cost?
No. The budget was based on what we have done previously.
Yeah.
And so the choral director was, I do not think it was an estimate based on when we were meeting twice a month. With Keith Rollins, I think we were coming in twice a month and on Thursday evenings, and then we were singing perhaps 3 Sundays. We rehearsed every Thursday evening and
Right.
sang at the service twice a month. I'd have to go back and review what we paid then and revise that if that was the case.
So to Rocky's point, if you do have a restricted fund for the piano stuff, we could asterisk that as part of the motion, that should that restricted fund actually cover the expenses for this rehab, we can still approve the budget knowing that would be the adjustment, if the restricted fund would cover
That is
it.
one way, yes. We could approve the budget as is.
Yeah.
We could approve the budget with a revision.
Right. Mhm.
And in being cautionary, perhaps not knowing that it was going to be enough to be covered,
Right.
we accounted for it,
Mhm.
and the funds are therefore allocated and available.
Yes, and then the next board meeting could have it as agenda item for that adjustment.
It could be that way.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions or discussion? I'm seeing, oh, no.
So the Interfaith Council made a significant, and now I'm looking for the number, but I was just curious about that because it went up rather drastically from very consistent, $75 a year or something.
It went from 75 to a proposed of 300.
Yeah.
Our dues are 75.
Mhm.
And I think the anticipation is because we do so much with the interfaith that we might actually consider giving more. So perhaps it might be up, let's say we gave 250, this way it's covered by us budgeting up to 300. If it was at 75, then I'm kind of restricted to 75 unless the board says, yeah, we approve you, go ahead and give them a check for 150 instead. So that's why that is.
Oh, I see, it's sort of a donation, but under the Interfaith Council instead of just the Social Justice Committee or something like that.
What are you really asking?
Well, the dues for the Interfaith Council, $75, pretty consistent, but even if it went up to $100, this is $300, and it's nitpicking in the sense that this budget is much bigger than that, but I just wondered why there was such a significant difference.
And I appreciate
And I
that.
think if
Yep.
it's going to be donations, like for instance, if we're going to do something serious on immigration people, that it doesn't have to be through the Interfaith Council. We can do it through the
Social
Justice
making
Committee.
donation to interfaith, sure. Thank you.
So it could be an adjustment. Could be an adjustment.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? No? Okay, so we're voting to... Oh, God. Okay, we are voting to accept the Board of Trustees' recommended fiscal year 24 budget, correct? Okay, approved, raise your hands. Say yay. Okay, all right, hands down. Opposed? I see no hands raised. Abstentions? I see no hands raised. Okay, that passed. All right. Thank you. Okay, line 5. Hear and act upon the report of the nominating committee for vacancies on the Board of Trustees and on the several committees. And are we hearing from someone for this? Okay. Kay, do you want to come up here or do you? Thank you.
Sorry? Yes. It is, it's a couple adjustments here. So Kate Mason, Kay Judd, we're your nominating committee, and we'd like you to help plan your growth and maintain our community by becoming church leaders for this coming year. And every year, the annual meeting, we elect our governing body, sorry. According to our bylaws, we are electing, so please stand as you hear your name. Moderator Andrew Baker, who is absent today. He had a family occasion to go to this weekend. Board members, Christine Bates, Rob Peck, And after considerable consideration and decision-making, Kate Mason has declined the position. Correct? Yes. Investment stewards, David Levitt, Rocky Perham, Lincoln Hurst. Charity fund officers, Lincoln Hurst, Cynthia Blue, Trudy Ralph, Marilyn Christian. And nominating committee, Kate Mason and Kay Judd. May we, oh, that's right, so now you ask for a motion. Oh, that's right. Are there any nominations for any of these categories from the floor, for the board or the committee work? Feel free to nominate yourself. Okay, hearing none.
Any other discussion?
Board.
Yeah, so how many people are needed to fill the board right now?
Two.
Two more?
Hold on just a minute. Bring the microphone to Mary.
Now, Mary's not a voting member, but.
I understand, but she had her hand up and we give her the microphone.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to be a part of the board. The reason why is because when I was at the Ark, I was once a part of the board, so I thought I could do it.
So you want to take this or shall I?
The criteria is?
The criteria for being a board member is that you're a member of the congregation. So you can be a board member next year when you're a member of the congregation. We'd love to have you. I know you were a board member at the Ark because I've seen this happen. And I've seen your work, and I know how dedicated you are. So I'm not rejecting you because you can't. I'm rejecting you because you're not a member yet, and that is a criteria. You do not have to be a member to be a committee person. You can be on any committee you want to be on, and be a member of just the community. But to be a member of the governing body of the church, you have to be a member of the.
So we would direct you to Kate Mason to discuss membership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then you have
Nancy.
You have
Yeah.
multiple hands.
Yeah, Nancy.
Where am I going first
Right
then?
there, Nancy.
Wait a second. Hang on, please.
I'm Nancy Forrest, as you may or may not know. I'm very bad at holding a microphone, and I'd just like to say that I was asked by Jennifer if I would be a board member. I said, I'm not a member of the church, and she said, come to the church at such and such a time, sign the book, and you will be a member of the congregation. The next week, or the next day, you can be a member of the board. So this is just an anecdote of what happened to me when I became a board member. So I don't know if there's an official policy, but this did happen. So I would like to just have everyone know that that's what happened when I became a board member. And I have one more year on my term, and I would be very happy to let someone else take over that year. But I will continue until my term is over, unless someone volunteers to let me sleep through the board meetings. Thank you.
A little
Thank
birdie
you,
just
Nancy.
told me too, Nancy, that you had been persistently and continually participating as a non-member for about a year before Jennifer said, Nancy, could you sign the book so you could be on the board? No, as a congregant. Yeah. So that's what we love to see is participation no matter what.
Okay, I'm going to ask, is there currently a formal process for joining the church? And, okay, so I'm bringing the mic to Kate for an answer for that, for clarification.
As chair of the board, as chair of the membership committee,
Did you hear that, Rob?
I just want to say that it's in the bylaws that there is a special ceremony, there is a special service. Ideally, we hold it a couple of times a year, and anybody who wants to sign the historic book can come and sign it. And they're familiar with what UU is all about. That's part of the membership. And I do want to encourage, I do plan to have a membership service, new member service in the fall, like maybe October. But that's part of, I'll talk about that some other time.
And I can add to that just to say that once we know we want to be a member, there's a new member orientation in order for us to be prepared to be at a member service to sign the book.
So are there any other qualifications or commitments one has to in order to be a member?
We say time, talent, or treasure. So willing to come and show up, volunteer, put time, sweat, and maybe a little gold, a little shingle into the budget.
Yeah, we're way off. We're way off.
I only asked for clarification for everyone here. Rocky? Okay, so we're voting to, yeah, sorry, just gotta turn to the page. Yeah. Number 5.
Rocky Para moved to vote the slate of nominees.
Okay, who seconds? Second, Christine. Okay, to approve. Oh, God, sorry. Any further discussion?
I know you did, but.
Okay, so we're, what, David? Yes. We just had a motion, we had second, so to approve, raise your hands. Thank you, I know, this is agonizing. Drop. Okay, opposed? Any hands up? I'm not seeing any. Abstentions? Nope, okay. Thank you for your patience.
You should not abstain. Welcome Christine Bates back to the board. Welcome Rob for his second term of leadership. And to the rest of you people who are taking care of money, thank you so much.
Number 6, to hear and act upon other business may be brought before the meeting by the membership of the parish. 4 points here. First one, enact wording change to the Congregational Covenant.
Rob Peck to come.
Okay, Rob Peck, please come.
So it was brought to my attention by Andrea Griswold in one of the few services that she attended that when she heard the part of our Congregational Covenant that refers to oppressed minorities, she felt that there were people who were actually in the technical majority who were also oppressed, that in different situations it could be misconstrued, and that she felt it was simpler and cleaner to simply say oppressed peoples. And that made sense to me, so I said I would offer it as a congregational amendment. Maybe we won't have to have a lengthy discussion, and we can just agree to say oppressed peoples, and we're good to go, but I don't want to cut off anyone who has a strong sentiment to the contrary. So is there any need for further discussion? We're simply changing stand on the side of oppressed peoples as opposed to oppressed minorities.
Okay, Christine has a comment.
I support that movement and suggest we just go for it because it is a great thing to change that word.
Okay, so that sounds like a motion to approve the change. Christine Bates?
Okay, so
How many seconds do I have? Seconded by whom? Tina Waldron, all right.
okay, first vote. Okay, first
Call
and
the vote.
second. Okay, raise your hands for an answer yes. Okay,
Okay.
take them down. For no, raise your hands. I see no hands up. Any abstentions? No, that's approved. Okay. Second, to hear and discuss the Social Justice Committee plan for the upcoming year, and who is presenting on that?
It's either, it's probably Ellen. Come on up. Come on up.
Could-
You,
Thank you.
you're all right.
Hello, that's very high.
Welcome to the microphone. Hang on.
So I'm Ellen Blanchette, co-chair with Molly Chambers. And this is our report. I'm not sure we're answering that question, but Social Justice Committee has had a very productive year with several film showings, social justice sermons, and climate work. We had a large audience for the 19th Annual Anti-Racism Film Festival, which almost filled the entire sanctuary for the documentary film Descendant. As part of the film festival, which was held in October 22, we also showed Thirst for Justice, Danger of Silence, and We Were 8 Years in Power. Discussion leaders Carl McCargo, Mamadou Sarr, and Strong Oak contributed to the film festival, holding discussions following each film. Essie Chambers, producer of Descendant, grew up in our church and went to school in Greenfield. Many of her classmates came to see the film and participated in the discussion afterwards with Essie. Thanks go to Dan Tynan for his help with technology that made that Zoom discussion possible.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Sorry, but I think what we're reading, what we're here is to hear and discuss the committee's plan for the upcoming year.
Yes, I heard that, but I don't have that.
Okay, so
Can
then
I-
you can say, thanks a lot, we passed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we did, well, I'll say this, we are planning our annual film festival for October of this year, and we are now looking for films, and if anybody has recommendations, we are open to suggestion, and we will be doing work on climate, and I assume many other things, but I don't have them in front of me right now, but thank you.
So should people comment, so should people,
Thank you.
so if
I'm
people
sorry?
do,
We did. And I think really the fact that Essie is Molly's daughter and grew up here and represented, and the documentary itself was just excellent. And we did hold it, also it was shown in Greenfield Cinema, and we packed that place too, which was really wonderful. And she went and spoke there too, so it was a very exciting moment, I think, and representing our church, so.
So, Ellen, if people do have recommendations for the next Anti-Racism Film Festival, how should they?
They can let me or Molly know, and I think probably our emails are in the list
They're
of members, and also we meet, well, we're trying to meet every second Sunday of the month. I don't know what's happened to our June meeting, but we will try. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I see.
Well, I think in years in the past, we have decided to vote on what our issues are going to be. And it sounds like from this, I mean, I think it's a little unclear, but we continue our anti-racism work and continue climate change work with your approval. And, but otherwise, if there are other ideas, this would be the good time to put it out there. And also, the other thing is that we have, as a congregation, endorsed the 8th principle, which is coming up for its initial vote at General Assembly this next week.
That was last year, we did that.
Well, okay, it's coming up for its second vote this next week. And the 8th principle is something that during this past year we approved as a church congregation. And so I think a plan needs to be in action for how we act on the 8th principle.
Any other questions or comments? No. So.
Just go to the next item. There's
All right.
nothing to be.
Okay, and C, hear and discuss potential changes to our worship year. And who is going to speak of that? Okay, Nancy.
I'd like to, what was that? That was my phone. I'd like to, did you all hear my phone? I have a message. I'm supposed to be somewhere else. Okay, I'd like to have you all close your eyes and think about the sun shining on your bodies as you came into church today and how wonderful it felt. Take a deep breath and smell the flowers that filled the church this time and think, this is summer. This is a summer service. Now I want you to change, and we're going to slip back to January. We're slipping back to January. You're in your driveway shoveling snow so you can get to church on time. And you're very busy, your heart is racing, your phone is in your pocket in case you happen to fall and need to call for assistance, and you know that the church will have three or four other people, and perhaps 10 if we're really lucky, and you get a call. It's from your niece. Your Aunt Tilly Bean has fallen on the ice trying to get to church and has broken her hip. She's on her way to the hospital, soon to be lifted by helicopter off to Boston for special treatment. And now I want you to come back into the sanctuary with us all and think about perhaps a proposal of the change of the church schedule. We come to church December, January, February, and we close for the summer months. I would like to propose that we reverse that and open for the summer months and close for January and February. So if we closed for January and February, we would, 1, save Aunt Tilly Bean the broken hip, 2, save ourselves the anticipation of a heart attack, and not get to see our friends in church who are all, it's so cold in here, and not have to pay that huge electric bill and heating bill, but we could just have the sanctuary closed and we could enjoy staying home and perhaps listening to some wonderful music. Okay, so if if we opened in the summer, we would have people who say, it's too hot. And we'd have people who'd say, gee whiz, I want to go to Maine, and I won't be able to go. Well, that's okay. You can think about us from Maine, and a few people, maybe 10 or 12, could meet here, or maybe we'd even get to have as many as we had today. Wouldn't it be wonderful? So it's just something to think about. I don't think we're doing any voting today, but just think about that. And
Well, we need to have a discussion. So you've set the stage really well.
okay,
So let's have a
let's
talk.
discuss.
Go ahead, hands up,
Sha-
people can chime in.
Sharon?
I just had a question. If you're going to, I got flowers in the way. In the winter months, though, some of the hardest time of the year is when it's really dark, and sometimes churches have the blue Christmas, or they have some kind of those circle things where they get people together in a circle and sort of liven things up so that they get through the dark part of the year. At least have it open for something like that, for the dark time of the year, where people can at least have during around that time, sometime during that week, and bring people together and at least sort of get through that.
I think that's a very valuable suggestion and consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Tina?
I think we also need to consider the condition inside here for the piano in the winter. We do have to do have to keep some normal temperature.
What about, okay, recognizing me, what about services over Zoom in the winter?
We could do that as well. That's another good, valuable thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so we have others. Who wants?
So I understand the idea of really needing community in the winter when it's dark and cold, and a lot of times people don't see very many people in the winter. And also the fact that it's expensive to heat up here. There could be a compromise where we just have a social gathering downstairs in the fellowship hall like we used to do in the summer during some of those very cold winter months. That's way less expensive to heat, and we would gather.
I'd like to remind people that we've rented the downstairs to Stone Soup Cafe, and we would have to have their approval to do that because we would be infringing upon their space. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you.
Ellen?
Hi, so I want to say I really like this idea. And
Thank you.
my feeling is, I admit that I kind of hate coming out when it's really cold. And I kind of remember being in the choir and really not liking having to rehearse in the freezing cold because the church is pretty cold on a Thursday night. But the other side of that is that I know for myself, and maybe I'm just, this is especially right now after COVID and I'm kind of home, I'm really sad that we're just going into the end of the services when I feel like I've really just come back. And some of that is I've been ill and I haven't really been able to. And so now that I feel better, I'm here and everything's leaving. But I do love the idea of us of having, and I don't know, you all can tell us more about what the physical condition, is it really hot in here in the summer? And I don't know, because maybe we don't have any air conditioning or anything. But it's a lovely time of year where people come out, and it might be a good way to bring more people into our church when everybody's kind of out and about, and maybe the young people, if we had events that they were interested in, they would bring them into the church at that point. So I like your idea.
Pam wanted, but I will say that sometimes it can be very hot in the sanctuary in the summer.
Well, so this is kind of interesting. I'm in the middle of part of the tree committee work, actually phoning 13 congregations in Western Mass. And I've only reached about 4 so far. And 2 of those are big churches, and they go regularly all winter long and everything like that, but they usually take the summer off. 2 of them are small congregations, and they are grappling with the loss of numbers, and they don't have the funding to hire somebody to do what Frank is doing for us. And the middle of the winter is the worst time for those congregations, and they keep thinking that they can save money by lowering the temperature, and so far they haven't been able to save money because they still have to heat because of the pipes freezing and things like that. But what I'm going to do is finish the phone calls this week and write a report, and I'm going to send it in. And so it might be interesting for people to see what the other churches are doing and how much it might be possible to collaborate Western Mass wide on certain kinds of Sunday services, midwinter, for example, or maybe even in the summer. I mean, maybe workshops and things like that in the summer. There may be very interesting possibilities. So I'll just keep calling and I'll put the report out to people here.
So, I don't think you're going to get a resolution.
Any other comments? Okay. For Christine.
Sounds like gathering data and statistics from local churches and our membership is what we need to do. Can we move on?
I'd like to thank everyone for their comments, and I think that's an excellent suggestion that we move on, and I'm sure that the board and other committees will take this into advisement and discuss it and perhaps come up with some suggestion for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Okay, 6D, hear and discuss potential changes to our sanctuary seating arrangement. And you, Kate? Okay.
Hi. So as our congregation has diminished, I've been thinking a lot about having a more user-friendly, a little closer, so that the people way in the back they can still sit there, but let me just say there's a couple of ideas on the table. I'm just going to put them out there, and then we can see how we want to proceed. We're not going to come up with a decision today. But one idea I had, Mike, I'm going to step away, is to actually take out this row, this row, this row, and this row. It's only 4 rows, essentially, 4 pews. I think we won't have too much trouble finding spaces for them, because that's always a good problem is when the pews, what are we going to do with the pews? So anyway, and then have this space here with chairs, with movable furniture. And that way, maybe you could be here in a chair, maybe right here have the altar, maybe the speaker would be up there, or maybe the speaker would be down amongst us. I do have a little bit of a schematic. So it'd be a semicircle of chairs instead of straight pews. But still, the pews would be there. And we could still seat 100 people for that wedding or funeral that we want to make sure we can seat. And moving only 2 pews wouldn't be that shocking. 4 pews, yeah. The other idea that we were floating a year or so ago is putting 4 pews angled out. So that was another idea. So I guess I'd like to put this out if anybody has a comment. And I know we don't need to get into the big details of this now, but I just want to move it along because I've been interested in doing this for a while. Emma.
A while ago, I belonged to a small congregation that had no pews. It was a new building, and we had chairs, and it was wonderful because we could have all kinds of events, such as peace dances for peace and other kinds of movement and things, circles and so forth. And you also would be able to have an area for after service refreshments and coffee and so forth if you had space here on this side.
Thanks, Emma.
Again, consulting other congregations that have solved or changed or stayed with the same thing. Amherst has chairs. I know sometimes folks are not happy to have weddings there because of the chairs and not the pews. We should consult other congregations and not reinvent the wheel and think about how it's going to match us.
I do believe I've heard rumors that there used to be a different pew arrangement. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Nobody that's alive?
Kate, when the church opened up, we had these pews here, but they went further back. I believe there were 3 more rows behind where the back row is now, and there were 8 pews, not as wide as these, on that side and on that side. So there was even more seating. But what your initial proposal was to remove the first 2 pews on both this side and on this and that side?
Yeah.
Okay,
and keeping this open like this.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to remind us that we have short pews after that, and that makes possible wheelchair access and good. So we could use those short pews to make.
Those are not short.
Okay, I won't say any more, but you know those short pews are great.
I don't see the need for any drastic changes. I think to have maybe 5 rows on each side, and people can come in. Yeah, that's my idea. I think there are too many seats that are always empty, and there's no need to add any more complicated things. That's my thought.
Thank you. David.
Hi. Some of you may not recall, Dan Tynan did a survey of the sanctuary, and I believe the results of such evaluation was if you wanted to put some pews at an angle, you needed to remove the first 4 for the angle to not therefore impede in the walkways. If you were to use the pews as they are and at their length. We don't have shorter pews. These 2 are just pushed over and therefore causing an impedance in the walkway, but there's ample space to go around. If you were considering removing the first 2 pews on the left and the right and replacing with some form of chair, that might be something that, okay. Thank you.
So I think one thing that could really come from this is instead of sitting in a building where I feel like, oh my God, it's such a big building and so few people in it, I could be in a circle and feel as if, wow, I'm really tightly connected, both physically and hopefully emotionally, with the people I'm experiencing the service with. And I think that kind of physical closeness would bind us as a community in a positive way.
Yeah, I think that would be good to consider and have more space for other activities up here, but I know I'm going to get in trouble. What I really want to do is put these pews back in numerical order.
Nancy.
I propose that we move some chairs in the front and try this during our summer experiment and see if it works. So just move some chairs in here, and then we can try it and see. And then we can reevaluate it in the winter when we need to make a decision.
So you're suggesting not moving any pews?
No, don't move any pews now. Ellen and I are not strong enough to move these pews out and then move them back in when people say, oh, we want the pews back.
Well, you won't have to.
Yeah, but who's going to move it?
Speaking on behalf of the property committee, which I'm the chair of, to unbolt or unscrew pews from the floor for moving them temporarily out of where they are now and back into where they are could be problematic, both for what it would do to the pews and also to the condition of the floor. And right now, we don't really have a great place to put the pews, you know, temporarily. So, you know, putting some chairs around here, I could see that, but I don't want to be part of moving pews just for temporarily. David?
Thank you, and I'll be brief. Thank you, and I'll be very brief. I'm not opposed, but logistically and muscle strength, if we have the people and we undo the first two pews on the left and the right, and we go to move them, where do we put them? Because if we don't have anywhere to place them, then you're really defeating your intent of trying to evaluate what it's like. I could understand if we took the two pews and put them down the center aisle and took these pews and put them down the center. Maybe that's possible for the time being for evaluating it, setting up some chairs. I personally am not opposed. I just am anxious about the logistics of how to accomplish it to be successful. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Ellen?
So just consider, instead of all this, encouraging people who sit in the back to move forward.
We do that all the time.
Which I think we do, and sometimes they do.
And you look at how close we all are right now. This is wonderful.
Mary?
I'm thinking, in case of an emergency, a way of getting through. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, storing the pews temporarily in the middle, even though it's a location, it wouldn't, yeah, it would be problematic. Right.
Perhaps we could just take the cushions off the pews in the back.
Okay, Sharon.
Hi, I know this will sound far-fetched, but I have seen in some churches where 2 rows of pews were on the side, and in this case it's 4 of them, so that would only answer to 2, but that's a thought also. But some people have actually taken and cut the pews in half and rounded off the edges on the side. They were that creative. So there's some other thoughts, and I don't think chopping up the pews is such a great idea either, but people have done that. Just food for thought.
Thank you.
So should we bring this
Ellen?
discussion to a close?
Can we just close this discussion? I don't know the...
No other comments or questions? Okay, worthwhile discussion. All right, thank you. Okay, for the last part, number 7, to receive the written reports of the standing committees. I don't believe this is anything that we need to vote on. In all of your packets are written reports of the property, music, membership, and finance committees. What's this last one? Such other committees are as active in the parent.
So you just have to ask, are there any committees that need to add anything that's not in their written report, or are there any committees that have not submitted a written report that want to make one?
Thank you, Kirsten. And what do any of the committees, okay, have something to add or, okay.
Hi, as worship committee chair, I just want to acknowledge and thank Betsy Simmons. Over the past year, we've had, we'll call it an experiment, with having a pastoral care minister as well as a monthly speaker minister. And so Betsy has joined us once a month for that position. It was decided, it was a mutual decision, I think, that basically Betsy will continue with pulpit supply on an irregular basis or whatever, and not be our parish minister unless you really want to talk to her, and I'm sure she'd be willing to. So I want to thank Betsy for diving in to our community and being part of All Souls. That's it.
Thank you. Any other representatives from any of the other committees need to add something to speak to us directly here now, to speak to, anything in addition to what they've already submitted in writing? Going once, twice, three, none.
Tender a motion to adjourn.
Okay, tender a Tina? Okay, Tina motion to adjourn, Rocky seconded, all vote yes, hands up, yay, hands down, votes no, I don't see any, abstentions, no. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
1:46. That was an hour and a half.
Could have been better, could have been more.